When you go shopping for dishwashing liquid, how do you make that decision? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Well, when I say that's what we're going to talk about, we're going to relate that to real estate. And this is maybe for men, and this may be politically incorrect, but it seems when my wife sends me to do the shopping, I get overwhelmed very easily because I go to the dishwashing section in the supermarket and there's like 50 brands of dishwashing liquid. So how do I decide? Well, first I look at what catches my eye, packaging. Then after I've done that, I sometimes look at the price, and if two are pretty much identical in the way they look, I pick the cheapest one. Here's the question. Does the consumer do the same thing with you? Does the consumer see a difference between you and the next real estate agent? If they don't, that's what we need to talk about today. And therein lies the problem in real estate today. The consumer doesn't see a difference. The consumer wants to reduce us, the real estate agent, to a commodity, put us on a shelf, and if we all look kind of the same, maybe pick one that has slightly better packaging, then compare the prices to another one that has slightly better packaging and pick the cheapest one. In the absence of value, the consumer will always defer to price. In other words, they will pick the cheapest. And in real estate, we tend to come across that a lot. If you're beat up on real estate commissions and you keep getting asked to cut the commissions to get the deal, there's a bigger problem further back, because the consumer, and whether they be, well, in this case, it would be a listing that's paying you, so a seller, if they don't see the value in what makes you different, or what makes you different, they might resign themselves to the fact they have to use you, so why pay more than the next person? So you have to somehow differentiate yourself from the crowd. And yeah, here's a little surprise. You will never not have competition. It doesn't matter what city, what state, what little town you live in. I guarantee the smallest town where I live in Australia, or where you maybe live in America, the smallest town would have more than one real estate agent. Absolutely guaranteed. So you will always have competition, and you always have to find a way to stand out. So how do you do that? Well, here's the first answer. Be yourself. The old story is you have to be yourself because everyone else is taken. But be yourself. What's your personality? Me, I'm funny. Might not come across in these videos, but anyone that knows me well enough knows I'm a little bit sarcastic and I'm a little bit funny, and that comes across in my presentation. That comes across when people talk to me. It comes across when I'm sitting in front of a seller doing a listing presentation. I'm very serious in what I do, but I'm very light in how I present it sometimes to a seller. Some sellers, some consumers, some buyers like that, some don't, but yeah, it's okay. I'm not going to try and be someone I'm not. So the first thing is you need to work out who you are. And sometimes that may come from your background. I mean, I'm very organized in my approach to real estate. I had 9 years in the military, so that military training comes through in everything I do. If I'm going to be somewhere at 9, it's a minute to 9 o'clock. It's never late. If I say I'm going to do A, B, and C, it gets done. My communication is very good. So there's some of the things that I bring to bring to the table for my clients from my past lives and the other jobs that I had before I got into real estate. So what job did you have before real estate, and how can you maximize that? Maybe you were a teacher, so you have organizational skills and you can control people. Maybe you were a stay-at-home mum or a stay-at-home dad, so that's multitasking at its highest level. Maybe you were an engineer, so you're detail-oriented in everything you do. Maybe you came from the management side of real estate, so you know how to manage people. You know how to manage the buyer, the seller, all the inspections that have to be done, and the process of the transaction settling or closing. So find out what sort of person you are. Incorporate your own personality. Don't try and be fake, because you can't sustain that. Be who you are. Put that in your listing presentation and try and differentiate yourself that way. Another way to differentiate yourself is maybe by the type of car you drive. You might drive a very beautiful Rolls Royce, as someone did in my town. This is back in Long Beach, California in the 80s and 90s. There was one real estate agent, had a fantastic name. In fact, I must say his name, Walter S. Sanford. That was a real estate name if ever I heard it, and he drove a Rolls Royce. He stood out in the town, a little bit over the top, wore three-piece suits and the whole thing, but you know what? You knew who Walter S. Sanford was in my town by what he drove and how he presented himself, always a little bit overdressed, to the point he would never ever go out and go to restaurants and socialize in our town because he didn't want the consumer to see him in a relaxed mode. There was another great agent, Phil McIntyre, also in our area, Long Beach, California, 80s and 90s. And he played on his name a lot. Hard pair of shoes to Phil. There was another gal in our office, Linda Blade, on the cutting edge of real estate. So sometimes your name can be what you market to cause the consumer to have what's called top of mind recognition. So when they think real estate, they think of you. My wife and I worked together. Everyone knew us as Kim and Daryl. That was it. Kim and Daryl. I never came first. I was always second. I'm okay. But Kim and Daryl. Everyone knew us as Kim and Daryl. We were marketed as Kim and Daryl. Yeah. So again, it's finding out what makes you unique, what makes you a little bit different, and then getting a piece of the consumer's mind. So when they think real estate, they think of you. I mean, where I live now in Coolum Beach in Queensland in Australia, there was a couple who were called the folks in the moke. They drove a little mini moke around. If you don't know what a mini moke is, Google it. But it's a little ragtop kind of beachy sort of car. They drove that around. Everyone knew them as the folks in the moke. So you might be able to buy a car, not a Rolls Royce. You might be able to scale down a little bit, but that car becomes unique. You could have an old Volkswagen 21 window van. Maybe that would make you unique. There's a gal that drives around in our area here now. Not my favourite real estate agent, beside the point. Don't know why I said that, for the record. But her van, she drives a van and it's painted pink. Pink is her colour. Everything's pink. Her signs are pink. Everything's pink. Her van is pink. You know that van's coming down the street. So sign writing your car or your van with something unique, not just your real estate office boring, but something unique can make it stand out. So that's how you have to start to think to differentiate yourself, a hard word to say, to differentiate yourself within the real estate market, within all the competition that you are always going to have. I don't know the answer for you. You know, if you want to hire me as a consultant, I can probably help you, but not knowing you, I can't tell you what to do. I can just tell you what I've done and what I've seen and what worked for me. And it's still working today for me. I'm in a little town now. A lot of people know me as Daryl Rouse, rhymes with house. So I don't work with my wife anymore. We're still married, but we don't work together as a team selling. So Daryl Rouse, rhymes with house. That's how I introduce myself a lot of the time. There it is. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell if you want to be reminded for the next video, and go out and sell something.